Thank all of you for showing up today. Coming out on the 20th anniversary of the single most horrific attack on the United States in our young country's history. 20 years. Sounds like a long time, and a lot has changed. But this act of terrorism seems like yesterday. In a blink, 20 years went by. An interesting fact I just read, 25% of the people today were not born on 9/11/2001. I guess that makes sense, but it sounds like a lot to me. But where does this time go? If you asked me, what did you have for dinner a week ago? I would have no clue. If you asked me to close my eyes and remember that day, I would have no problem. I would bet if I asked you right now to close your eyes and think back, you too would remember that day. I remember that day with eerie clarity. And I have a really, really bad memory. It was a little before 8 a.m. on a sunny September day. My in-laws just left our Chicago loft, trying to beat the Tuesday morning traffic, were on their way back to Kansas City. My wife and I were watching TV, the Today Show. I was getting ready to walk to the office. I was running a little late. News was reporting that a small plane had just crashed into the World Trade Center. They were showing a live scene when another plane hit the second World Trade Tower. I think it was Katie Couric. She was talking. She seemed confused, not sure what was happening, thinking it was a replay of the earlier crash, but it wasn't. It wasn't a small plane, but a large 767. It was then said that this might be an act of terrorism. To me, it was at that moment that life changed. Now, in my role, as I mentioned, mayor, change has a lot of different meanings to people. To some people, change means hope. To others, change is bad. But in most all cases, it means a notable difference. Well, for that day, there was definitely a notable difference in both directions for me. In that moment, after the second plane hit, there was a physical pressure that I felt. Was it fear? A feeling of lack of control? Was it paranoia? Was I feeling vulnerable? It's probably all of them. All I know, it was a change, and not one that I was used to or one that I liked. Walking to work was a rushed pace, and all I kept thinking about were all the people in those buildings, people I knew, and people that I talked to on a daily basis. Were they okay? The walk was hushed, everyone was in disbelief, and everyone kept looking into the sky for a rumored missing plane and a potential threat to the Sears Tower. Once at work, everyone was glued to the TV. Speculation is, who had done this? Where are the other two planes? And then one hit the Pentagon. And then it happened, the South Tower collapsed. We were all asked to evacuate from our building, which was across the street from the Sears Tower. Outside, chaos was everywhere. There were more people on the streets and sidewalks than I'd ever seen. You could hear the buzz of military jets race by and hear people becoming frustrated, trying to call loved ones, letting them know they were okay, but all cell phones were down. I raced back home, hugged my wife so tight, we were safe. I later learned that 2,977 families would not be able to say that. We drove out of the city and found comfort and strength with our family. We all have stories on how that day changed us. From my perspective, at my age and where I was in life, it was a loss of innocence for this country. We woke up that morning not worried about a thing and went to bed with a black eye and cracked ribs, afraid, angry, and not sure what tomorrow was going to bring. In the days that followed, we as a country watched too much TV, reliving that horrific event. We stared into the sky and didn't see a plane for days. And after that, every plane flying was flying way too low. As a country, we buckled down. We created new agencies, we would make sure this would never happen again. We started a war against terror, and the innocence and trust we saw in others was gone. Today, 20 years later, I pray my children will never have to witness anything like that. A plane used as a weapon to kill innocent people. I still have butterflies when at the airport, while waiting in line at TSA, while boarding a plane, and I am aware of unattended bags. Now, I mentioned that change has a good side too, at least for me. I am sure if I had lost a loved one on 9/11, I would be hard-pressed to see a bright side here. I saw that fire and police will do more for people than most people will do for themselves. I learned a lot of good things about our country. We can pick ourselves up when kicked. We are strong when we are united. People are kind and giving, and we truly want what's right. So as we move on from today, I believe it's important that we tell our stories and the impact they had on us. Because time moves on. And in another blink of an eye, it will be 40 years since September 11th, 2001. And on that day, over half the people alive will have been born after 9/11. So maybe our stories are all they will have to personalize and maybe remember that September morning. Finally, that day made me realize, with family there is strength, life is short, and it should never be taken for granted. Thank you.